Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast in this reality. The show designed to challenge everything we've been taught. If you've ever felt there had to be more to life, more to existence, then you're listening to the right podcast. Time to open your mind and dive in. This is the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast.
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. I want to talk, I know this is a little bit outdated because this happened a couple days ago, but I want to talk a little bit about Brittany Grenier. I've mentioned her before. We've talked on the podcast before, and I brought up a few things that were controversial. I don't know. She's in the title somewhere. I don't remember what episode it is. I'm not even saying go back and look at it. I just, because it's not really relevant to this. I think it was just more podunkery. I talk about her today simply because we are looking at a moment in time, and this falls in line with everything that I've been talking about recently, which is clown world. We live in clown world. I don't even know how to start this. Anxiety and depression is the root of where we started. How to cure yourself of anxiety and depression. And a lot of it comes down to being aware, being able to see certain things. You are depressed because you don't feel like you fit in, and you don't. And then they add medication, and that shit fucks you up too. So now you're all messed up with the food that they feed us, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink. I mean, it sounded so crazy so long ago, but the food that we eat, there's poison in Cheerios, and people will say it's just a little bit. There's fluoride in water, and people say there's fluoride at the dentist. We're fine. There's chemtrails in the sky dropping chemicals on us, and people will say it doesn't matter. It's not real. Why did all this happen? Why did it keep happening? Why do I have to keep being aware of it? Why do we have to keep sharing it? And it's so much. I mean, it needs to be shared because personally, I need to talk about it. I need to fathom what's going on. And to do so, I need to sort of get it off my chest or think about it or talk or address this. And you guys get to listen because I know you guys have questions too. And I don't have any answers. I just have more questions and more things to take notice of. This world is legitimately not what it seems. And when we were told that we were crazy for making those statements before, it was kind of hard to back them up. It was just a gut feeling you had to rely on. You just had to go on the fact that this wasn't what it was. But we've got all of this going on in every aspect of everything. We've got so many people sick and dying. In Canada, we've got war vets who can't afford housing because everything's absurd. And our government is suggesting medically assisted instant death, medically assisted suicide. Well, you can't find a place to live. Have you considered dying? What the fuck? The numbers are staggering with regards to MAID. And I don't know, I look at this stuff and I will hop back and forth between third dimension, fifth dimensional to talk, thought, everything's happening for us. Yes, that's all 100% true. Everything is happening for you. Everything is happening for you to experience certain things. And then when you get lost in the dimensions and when you get lost in the shift, you get wrapped up in this stuff. And I don't typically get wrapped up in these things. I mean, I see them happening, but these are huge teaching moments and these are huge realization moments. You look at this stuff and you're like, what? But it's like, okay, so that's absurd. This is absurd. That's absurd. This is absurd. And then we kind of move on. We don't even really think about it afterwards. In other words, we see the individual atrocities and we don't connect them as a whole. We just don't do it. And that's a huge problem. And if you do try to start connecting it as a whole, you yourself sound a little bit crazy. So you're kind of like, maybe I shouldn't say anything or do anything. Maybe I'm wrong. But how much of this are we going to have to put up with? And how much of this are we going to have to deal with before we I don't know, put our foot down. And what does putting your foot down even look like? Who are we putting it down against? And two, they say you vote with your dollars. Well, we should. They say the cost of living is going through the roof. Well, the easiest thing that we can do is just stop paying 50% of our income to taxes. Well, the government, you're out. If I'm paying $10 for a head of lettuce, you're not getting your share. And if you're going to put me up, if you're going to steal from me, there's a rumor going around that taxation is just voluntary. And that's voluntary based on fear. They make you do these sort of things by the threats that they offer and promise and the stories that we think we know about all this sort of stuff. But we're getting to a point right now where regardless of anyone's desire to do the right thing or whatever it is, people are going to be faced with many decisions, powerful decisions people didn't want to think that they had to make in first world Canada. But becoming aware of these things is the whole purpose, I think, of this experience. We had to be dead asleep so that we could wake up, because if we showed up awake, what would be the point of even being here? We've got so many absurd things taking place all over the world, and we are privy to them. We're allowed to know about them. We're allowed to know about the crypto billionaires dying. They're getting picked off, these high-end crypto guys. That's a strange thing to know about, right? But then we've got Joe Biden releasing Brittany Grenier to the Russians. The Russians releasing Brittany Grenier to the Americans in exchange for the Merchant of Death, the Lord of War. Nicolas Cage made a movie about him years ago, about the Lord of War, about this guy that sold guns, this Russian-based guy that sold guns to absolutely everybody all the time. I don't know the details of it. But what strikes me as peculiar is this woman, questionable, by the way, because that's another psyop that we can go down and we can ask, right? But we're not allowed to talk about, because that makes us terrible, and that's going to get us canceled if we talk about certain things like that. But we're not allowed. You're a horrible person if you even question anything like that, which is so weird. Why are we forced to live in that mentality? Why are we forced to live in cancel culture? Most people aren't dicks. And those that are dicks are just crying out for attention. In other words, they're terribly hurt inside and they're just expressing themselves outside. You can help somebody like that. Once they start showing that they're a giant dick, you can help them if you want to. They can be helped if they want it. If not, they're just going to make themselves obsolete. You don't have to take anything personally. You don't have to be a part of that. You don't have to engage in their dickery. Just like we shouldn't be forced to engage in everybody else's delusions of who they think they are and what they associate with. I don't think that that's fair. I think that Dave Chappelle said it best when he's like, how much of my participation in your life needs to take place? How much do I have to play along with your fantasy? Right? And then there's so many people who just want to be politically correct and want to attack me for saying something like that. And that's cool. By all means, attack me if it makes you feel good, if it's going to get your point across. If it's your purpose in life to attack me, then go right ahead. You can do it on air. I'll even put it on the show. 647-338-1265. Feel free to attack me. If you've also got something nice to say, 647-338-1265. We'll put it on the show. Right? This world that we live in is making itself more and more aware, making itself more and more apparent. And it's us who are perceiving the world around us that are literally at war with ourselves and literally at war with what we think that we need to perceive. And here's the weird thing. A lot of the stuff that we do it's true. However you choose to view and believe what you choose to view and believe, that makes it your truth. Which is how two people can have an argument and both be absolutely correct, because the information that they have as to the point in which they're making contradicts your point, which means the two of you can clash and butt heads. The real fun here, however, is coming to a happy medium. How did you get there? How did you mentally get to this position? I want to know how you got here, and I want to express to you how I got to where I am. If we can merge these two pieces of information, maybe there's something in the middle there that we can really that we can take from the whole thing, from the experience. Then again, maybe there's not. You know, I'm not sure why people want to argue all the time, other than the fact that we've been told to, and that we've been told arguing is normality and conflict is normality. And without conflict, there's nothing. I mean, I know some people, I'm very close to some people who start every sentence with no, but I, no, may I, no, this is what I meant, no, no, no. And this is trauma. This is inherent, in-depth trauma. And that trauma, when not healed, gets passed on, gets passed through. So you and what you're waking up from and what you're going through and what you're experiencing and everything that you're going through right now is a culmination of everyone who started teaching you from when you were young, your parents, grandparents, family, friends, whatever. The media. It's not by accident that the mother goes to work, the father goes to work, and the 2 children or 3 children or 12 children or 1 child goes off to the education system where they don't teach you anything except memorization. Here's the story we're telling you, and we're going to test you on how well you remember it. It's straight up brainwashing from the get-go. They don't teach you how to think for yourself. As a matter of fact, if you ask questions that allude to free thinking, they tell you you're crazy and you believe you're crazy. And then the other people who aren't able to free think will tell you you're crazy, and they'll make fun of you for having questions. This is, again, the root of anxiety and depression. You don't fit into a world that's asinine. But that world is revealing itself more and more. This is what we were talking about last time, too. This world is displaying itself. This last Brittany Grenier trade for the Merchant of War. This woman went to Russia and smoked weed and didn't give a shit. And then they kept her in there. And then all of a sudden, the whole world is aware of her. Why? Because they need to be. Just like the entire world was aware of the Ukrainian war, but not very many people knew about the Iranian war. The Iranian war is going on now. There's battles going on all over the place, but it's not making a single ounce of news coverage. The crypto millionaires dying isn't making a single ounce of news coverage. Evan Balenciaga's kitty debacle is not making an ounce of news coverage. And in the middle of it all, we're allowed to be aware that Brittany Grenier has been released from Russian prison in exchange for the Merchant of Death. And this world is supposed to continue on appearing to be an illusion? How do we justify this? How do we say these things? Why do we consistently contribute to the chaos? There's a lot of C's there. How do we do our part? How do we vote with our dollars? How do we just say enough is enough? How do we say I don't have any faith in those who are supposed to be running the show? How do we stand up and say I don't want to be a part of anyone who tells me how to live my life? Right? The definition of anarchy isn't total chaos. The definition of anarchy is without government. But that very government would have you believe that anarchy is buildings burning and everything insane. Anarchy is free farming. Anarchy is having all of your rights handed back to you. Am I an anarchist? Am I going to get arrested now for promoting violence? I sure as hell hope not, but it's possible. If I just disappeared one day and didn't have any new uploads to the new podcast, I'd figure a way to get the word out. I'd figure a way to get this channel live again if I got taken. Somebody would come on here and start telling stories. But we live in a world that first made us understand ourselves a little bit better, made us aware through the chaos. Through our chaos, too, what we decided to do, how we decided to act. Think back to when you were dead asleep, the dumb shit you did. You're like, what the fuck? Who taught me to do that? Why would I want to do that? Why would I think that was okay? And the truth is, the chaos and bullshit that we lived through was all over the television. Fear, inadequacy, stupidity, douchebaggery was all over the television. It was everywhere. We thought it was funny. Assault, this, that, and the other thing. Look at the shit that the top producing things of our time were American Pie. And we all know how that ended. That's jail time right now if that was real. Jackass, those were movies where everyone was just running around being dicks and being assaulting and being hilarious and rude and I mean, we're not allowed to do any of that. So the entirety of the world that we were raised in, the world that was influencing us, and it was all intentional, the world that was intentionally influencing us, made us all immediate bad people. But that's cool because it's from there that you had to sort of understand yourself and what you were capable of and where you were going and how you were going to do it. By proxy, through your mistakes, through the bullshit that you did, through the bullshit that was done to you. You knew who your people were. You knew growing through that you could trust these people, you not trust these people. Your loyalty probably kept you stuck in situations that, common sense would have had you get out of a long time ago. That's the truth. Right? That's the truth when you grow up in a certain way, when you start looking for something, and when you start out the gate with lack, you're lacking something. And the lack that you carried through your youth was the lack handed to you that was carried through your parents' youth. Your most influential people at a very young age. Their bullshit is being force-fed into you. That's not to say your parents are disrespectful or this, that, or the other thing. I mean, your parents just literally did the best they could with what they had. And it's not up to us to blame anybody for anything because literally it's our experience. What are you going to do with that experience? What are you going to do with that knowledge? You're going to step up. You're going to understand. You're going to comprehend. The main thing that I'm saying in this whole giant episode here is don't allow fear from them, fear from division, fear from all of these things that they make you believe that, your neighbor's out to get you. Your neighbor's going to help you when the bad people come. And the bad people are going to be probably dressed as police officers, probably dressed as government officials, probably dressed as somebody that's here to help for the betterment of society. We will crush the individual in the betterment of society. We're being beat down, kicked up all over the place in every aspect of everything. And yet we're supposed to believe that we're still the bad guys. The media would have you believe that no matter what's going on, you're the bad guy. Right? For somebody to be attacked, there needs to be an attacker. For somebody to be a victim, there needs to be an aggressor. And when there's a person pointing the finger at both people saying you're the victim and you're the aggressor, and they're not really privy to any of it, then it's all lies. It's all fabricated lies. And those lies are collapsing. How is it that a woman who was charged and put in prison for marijuana and then politically freed by the President of the United States of America, how is it that that's a thing when there are still people in American prisons for selling weed a decade ago? A plant that grows out of the ground, pot, marijuana, sitting in jail because of whatever state they were in and whatever time that they got in trouble for it. Even though the rules have changed, even though the government themselves are selling marijuana now, those people are still in jail. And Britney gets freed for a man who's caused billions and billions of deaths. There's so much more to that backstory. I don't even know what it is. I would love to know what really was the symbology of all of that. Why it all played out the way it did. Why we were privy to it. Because all of the important things that we don't know anything about. I mean, why do we get to know about Brittany Grenier and the absolute absurdity that is her case, yet nobody's talking about Balenciaga? There's so much out there that will fall from all of this. The illusion is crumbling. And the more the illusion crumbles, the more you find yourself in a center. You find yourself centered in the chaos, which feels weird. But you know something big is coming. Something big is absolutely on the horizon. And you, listening to this show right now, are more prepared than anyone not listening to this show. I'm not saying my information is preparing you. I'm saying your frequency has tapped you into a spot where my show is on your radar, which means you're doing great work. You're getting to where you need to be. And you're going to be the ones helping those who don't understand. All the people that shit on you right now, eventually, you're going to turn around, reach down and pick them up. The ones that you can. The ones that don't want it, we're not going to worry about them. But in this separation, this elevation, this division between third and fifth dimension, you guys are the thought leaders. You guys are the ones who are going to push this through. Ladies and gentlemen, again, if you want to be heard, send us a text or leave a voicemail, 647-338-1265. Long distance charges may apply. That is a local Canadian number. Thank you again for listening to this. I really wanted to get this one off my chest. This madness is a perfect opportunity to just share, to just make people aware, to have people Google things and look at stuff. And even Google's working against you, right? So even DuckDuckGo is working against you. So you really have to use your gift of discernment here. But that information's out there and you can do with it what you wish. Ladies and gentlemen, in the infamous words of Red Green, keep your stick on the ice.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Stay connected with us directly through the mentalmasteryalliance.com. You can also join the discussion on Instagram at instagram.com/the Mental Mastery Alliance. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag TMMA or tagging us at the Mental Mastery Alliance. To have your voice heard on the show, leave a voicemail or send a text to 647-338-1265. Long distance charges may apply. If you love us, leave us a review. If you hate us, you spend your time in weird ways, but also leave a review. Every review on iTunes tickles the algorithm, helping us grow. Until next time, unity over division. This concludes the most surreal portion of your day.
You got it, Pontiac.